Hello, hello, hello. I'm excited to be here. But first of all, I would want to say Happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. Let's continue persevering, supporting each other, the collaborations. For me, it's everything. And one of the things I told myself this year is collaboration is going to be one of those things that I emphasize to do more this year. And so far, I'm glad the universe has been working in my favor. I'm super excited to have these two beautiful ladies today. But first, I'll introduce myself. My name is Joyce Loy Chumpewe. I'm from Uganda. I'm a Dare to Glow coach. Basically, I dare you to become the best version of yourself professionally and personally or individually in your day-to-day lives. Otherwise, I would want to introduce our guest today to briefly introduce herself. But before she briefly introduces herself, I'd want to say I'm proud to know you, Coach Brenda Lees. For you are really being you with Brenda Lees, you really live that name that you are supported, first of all. And International Women's Day is a day for us to actually blow the trumpet for the other women. So I would want to blow a trumpet for you to say you're amazing. You're always up for a collaboration. You're always there to support others. And for me, those are people I want to surround myself with. I'll give you a brief introduction about yourself.
Thank you. That's all I can say. Bye. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so grateful to be here. I think, the topics we've been covering are amazing. I'm also grateful that I have met both Coach Joy and Coach Jane. I think the expansion of my network in 2023 is going beyond what I ever dreamed of. So, and I think, life brings you people who complement you very well. So I'm grateful for that. And also congratulations on International Women's Day. I'm a mindset transformational coach, and I work with people to overcome basically their own internal programming. I really love working with the unconscious mind and how we can reprogram our belief system and let go of that baggage that it's really preventing us from flourishing and be the people we are meant to be and be authentic and then drive change in this world. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
All right. And I think I would not add anything. Brenda Lees, you said it all. In a nutshell, I'm really also glad to know you. I'm sure we are glad to have you here always on Mindset Shift CEO Lives. And I know you, when you're here, you're educating us, you're educating people out there, and we are also educating you. And there are lots of amazing things I would want to say about my co-host, who is basically the host always, but sometimes we have to switch the roles. I'm super excited to know you, Coach Jay. For me this day, I would want to also celebrate you. You've been amazing since day one when we met. You've been nothing but a real accountable partner. Thank you so much for always being there when I need you. And I'm sure I'm always there when you need me. Sometimes we get lost into everything that happens, but it is life, right? Otherwise, I would want you to give a brief introduction about yourself before we get into our topic for today.
Oh, thank you so much. And I celebrate both of you, Brenda Lees, since we met day one. As Coach Joy has said, you have been really supportive to us, and we really appreciate that. Taking the time I know, what's the time right now where you are? I think it's quite early.
It's good. It's 11:30. So it's midpoint in the day. Amazing.
You could be somewhere running errands, but you took the time to spend it with us, to talk to our viewers, because it's all about the mindset shift. Coach Joyce Loy, I also appreciate you since the one we met when we were doing our NLP course. It has been a remarkable journey together, pushing each other out of our comfort zones. It has been really remarkable. So my name is Jane Njogu. I am a transformation mindset coach. I think the opposite of Brenda Lees. She's a mindset transformational coach. So I am a transformation mindset coach for people who are struggling with existing limiting beliefs and thinking patterns, and you're just looking to find that clarity on how to explore those opportunities. So I am your girl. You come, we sit down, we have that talk. What is stopping you from becoming your authentic self? Because I believe once we identify what is stopping us, we are able to move to the next phase. And I'm not just talking because I've been trained as a coach, my NLP, and I'm still doing AMCC, also from experience, how I have transitioned in the last 1 year. I credit mindset change. How I have grown as an individual, it's all implanted here in the mindset shift, in the mindset growth, mindset change. And every day is a learning experience, which is why I'm grateful we have these weekly Facebook Live webinars in Mindset Shift CEOs group. We are learning and learning, relearning, because the world is evolving. All the ladies watching us, happy International Women's Day. We are super excited to be here today. And I'll give it back to you, Coach Joy.
All right. So we are going to go into our topic today, but before I get into our topic today, I would like to let everyone know who is going to be watching the replay, or even who's watching us right now, that everything we are going to be sharing is out of research, personal experiences as NLP practitioner, students, because we never stop learning. When you become an NLP student, you never stop learning. And like always, Coach J says, we are students of life. In everything we do, we are students of life. We never stop learning. Our topic for today is going to be, how can we overcome overthinking by using NLP techniques? And these are our personal experiences, things we've also learned, and also research. So before I go into defining what NLP would be, I would want to define overthinking. What is overthinking? And we talked about this before. Overthinking is when you are stuck in the past. You are stuck in the past. You're always thinking of the past things. Oh, if I'd done this one right, maybe I would be better. I would be in a better place. If I maybe, you keep being in the past, and it makes you overthink. The other thing that makes us overthink, or what overthinking would be, is wanting to live in the future. So for me, I'm a believer that when you live in the present, you're going to avoid a lot of things, including even depression. And I'm not saying that, and that is my own opinion about depression. Every time I tell myself, am I depressed? That I feel I'm not happy. Am I depressed? I remind myself that it's a mindset. If I keep saying I'm depressed, I'm basically going to get into that ditch of being depressed. So for me, that is the simplest definition I would give for overthinking. I don't know if the ladies would want to share their definition for overthinking before we go into defining NLP in simple terms.
Well, for me, as I had shared last week, basically overthinking is just thinking about something over and over and over and over and over again. You're not moving past that thought. Okay, as you mentioned, am I depressed? So when you keep asking yourself, you're not moving past that point of am I depressed? And that's why today's topic is very important, because you're going to help learn how we can move beyond that point of overthinking. Because knowing and defining something is okay, but learning how to move, like learning how to deal with it, I think is the most important bit of everyday life, because you're learning.
I will agree with both of you. And if I can summarize overthinking, I would see it as when that state when you're living constantly in the possibilities and not in the now. So if you're living in the possibilities, like you said, Coach Joy, in the possibilities of the past or the possibilities of the future, you're not allowing yourself to live in the now, learn and move forward, right? So if you are constantly living in the world of possibilities, then that you're constantly living in a world of overthinking.
Yeah, and I think, ladies, you summarized it. I'm not going to add anything else. So going to NLP. What is NLP, first of all? Someone would be out there saying, what is NLP? What is this thing these guys are talking about? They think we understand the language. So in simple words, NLP means the N stands for neuro, the L is linguistic, and the P is for programming. So the word is neuro-linguistic programming. So why are we talking about this program in helping you stop overthinking? For us as students of NLP, and I would prefer to use NLP because the word can get too long and it can get too long and confusing sometimes. So NLP, why use the NLP techniques to help you stop overthinking? First of all, a neuro deals a lot with the brain. It deals with your brain a lot. So the things we are going to talk about today are more to help you on how to tap and train your brain to take control of thoughts and beliefs of the things that are stopping you from achieving the life that you want to achieve. And there are different ways and there are different techniques. And today we are going to share some of those techniques. And I would want to give it to our guest today to share her first technique on on how to overcome overthinking using the Neuro-Linguistic Programming.
So I want to start with a technique called perceptual positions. So this is basically when you look at an event or a situation from 3 different positions or 3 different lenses, right? So the first lens is to look at it from your own eyes. Like I'm looking at it as my own experience. I'm capturing what this means for me and what the learnings are. Then I take a step out of it and I look at it from the perspective of maybe a friend or another person that I may know. How will this person perceive my current situation? Now you have 2 different positions that you have evaluated, and you can kind of like, it can help you and guide you in making, going on the right direction, right? The other way, the other position that you can actually look at it, which I think it's one of the most powerful positions, is to take yourself completely outside of that picture, completely outside, and look at the situation and the event as if you were an outsider. Somebody who may not necessarily know all the facts about the situation. What would they recommend? What would they think? What would they do? How would they perceive the situation? And then it will allow you to then collect and identify what your learnings are and be able to move forward. So basically, by going into 3 different positions, you're able to see your same situation from 3 different lenses, and allows you to be able to shift your perception into a way that could be more proactive for you.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you're watching right now and she has explained it, you can do more research so that you can be able to actually, you can even do it on your own. The
Absolutely.
techniques we are going to share today are things you can even do on your own without having anyone there. You just follow the steps. Mm-hmm. And before I go into the next one, because I'll share the next one, is there are 3 things you should also look at. You should look at awareness, analyze, and the decision. First of all, when I say awareness, I mean notice your obsessive thought pattern. What is that pattern that keeps happening? The habit. Because when it comes to overthinking, it's a habit. Like personally, I have a very terrible habit. When it comes to nighttime, my brain just becomes too active. It's when I want to be able to read a book. It is when I want to be able to finish maybe a plan that I like why? So I started realizing that it's actually affecting the next day. My next day becomes too slow because I'm too tired to do stuff, and I'm a morning person. I love to wake up early to do my stuff. So when you start realizing patterns like that, because for me, overthinking, I'm like, what will I do tomorrow? That is already thinking of the future. But I'm the one affecting my tomorrow because I'm not going to bed early. I'm staying up and doing things I would have done the next day. You get? So awareness, you should be aware and notice those obsessive thought patterns, the things that keep happening and putting you into that overthinking. The other one is analyzing. Determine whether the thoughts are useful or not. Every time you go into overthinking, ask yourself, is it a useful thought? If it's not useful, then why? Then why are you putting yourself into that overthinking mode? And at the end of the day, maybe even get stressed or get depressed about it. So always analyze. If it's not a useful thought, leave it. If it is a useful thought, give it another day. Give yourself time to process it. And then the third thing is the decision. Decide whether to change these thoughts or leave them as it is. And just like I said, if it is useful, determine the decision on how you're going to go about it. Otherwise, if it is not useful and you're getting stuck on it, it is useless. So I hope you can put these three things in consideration while using the NLP method on how to overcome overthinking. And then my first point is going to be anchoring. For me, this is like one of my best NLP techniques. Because when I was learning how to use it, I got to understand that when I have that one thing that I could anchor, I even feel it myself. I'm like, then I'm like, okay, I'm out of that thought. Why was I getting into that thought? So what does anchoring do? Anchoring is a very common technique used in the NLP. And if you can actually do more research, you get to understand that it's one of the easiest that you can even do on your own. It gives you a positive trigger, you know? And for me, I know the one for Coach J is like Wakanda forever, because we've done these things together. So I've taken her through, and I know that is her anchor. So when she gets there, I know it's a positive thought and she's going to make things happen. So what does this trigger help you? It helps you control emotions. Most cases, it improves your emotion. Every time you feel like you're getting overwhelmed, you're getting into the future. What is the future going to help me when I'm not living for now, when I'm not living for today, you know? So I can't go too much into details, but I could give you a few steps on how to do the anchoring. The first thing is elicit a time when you experienced an intense feeling, a positive, intense feeling. Every time you're going into the overthinking or you're stressed about something, try to remember a positive thought of that situation, other than thinking of the negative, a positive. Number two, bring some sensory cues about it. It could be smell, it could be a good perfume, it could be a surrounding, maybe around the beach or something. Then the other thing is bring a memory to it. A very beautiful memory. It has to be associated to something beautiful. Every time you're anchoring, it has to be associated to only positivity, no negativity in anchoring. Then take a short break and repeat this. Repeat it and repeat it. Test it. It could be, you could test it by touching your earlids. They could be your anchoring. It could be blinking. Your anchoring can be this, Wakanda forever, like Coach J. Or for me, it could be like this, like, you know, I'm here. Yeah. So anchoring, when someone tells you to anchor, you make your own. No one should give you a specific way to anchor. And when I say anchor, it is a responsive. It's from you, not from the person coaching you. Otherwise, Coach J, it's up to you to give your next point.
Profound. You've taken me back to when we were doing the course on when I was doing my anchoring and you were laughing at me, but that's what felt right. That's so Brenda Liz has mentioned about perceptual positions, and I wanted to talk about dissociation. But now when I think about it, it made me realize that with dissociation, it's just a temporary thing that you can deal with. So I would like to talk about something we call timeline therapy. And with timeline therapy, this is where I'll just give like a brief of how it goes so that anybody who's watching us can get an understanding of it. With timeline therapy, it's where you walk through the steps into the future, and then you walk back, reliving those steps. So for example, I'm overthinking about, let me use a good example, starting a YouTube channel because I've been there. So starting a YouTube channel, I'm just overthinking, should I do this? Should I do this? So the first step I'll ask you to do is walk into maybe 3 months from now. What are you doing in that time? What is happening? You've opened the YouTube channel? Who did you talk to? What steps did you take for you to get there? What has happened maybe after 1 month? What has happened in the next 1 month? So you can do this. Let's say, for example, your target is end of December 2023, have the YouTube channel thriving and all that. So you walk from March to December. observing yourself. It's like you're dissociating yourself, and what, like Brenda Liz has given us that perceptual position. It's like you're watching yourself. What is happening in that timeline? How did I get to that December and my YouTube channel is thriving, my YouTube channel is doing well? And then once you get to December, I want you to walk back again with the steps and ask yourself those questions. How did I get in this position? What happened last month that got me to this position now? And then you write them down, capture them so that you know what you have to do or you want to do. Go back another month. What happened last month for me to get to this position? And then when you come back to the present moment, you will realize that overthinking pattern, you have better managed because you have like a visual of what you want to do. You have like a blueprint of how you're going to get to December 2023 and you're able to launch your YouTube channel. So I know it might be complex, and when you're doing it alone, it might feel like, I'm not really honest with myself with this because I really want to prove a point. It doesn't work, or I cannot do this. So it's always nice if you're with someone, either a coach, a friend, you can always let the friend know how this is supposed to work and then walk through that. Your friend can capture those points because you'll be telling your friend or the coach, okay, I'm in August 2023. This is what has happened. My YouTube channel has 1,000 subscribers. Where did the 1,000 subscribers come from? I have posted 10 videos. What are the 10 videos about? They're about A, B, C, D, E. So the person next to you is capturing all these things for you. So when you come back and then you review what you've written down, you'll be very amazed to see how much knowledge you have, how much resourceful you are. That is one thing we forget to tap. We are very resourceful when we want to be, and we can be very unresourceful when we choose to be, and which is the state we always want to be. We always want to be in that state of, I cannot do it. It's not for me. But what if I told you it is for you? Who said it's not for you? And that's a question for you. Back to you, Coach Joy.
So I like how you've explained the timeline, and just to be very clear, just like what Jay has said, you can use this technique only if you can be honest with yourself. And most cases, we are not honest with ourselves. We pity ourselves. We want to just be there telling ourselves, I'll do it. But when you have someone you are accountable to, that's why it's always good to have an accountable partner, because whether you get angry with them or not, if you told them you're going to do something and they're pushing you to do it, that is their role. They have to make sure you do what you said you're going to do. That is what an accountable partner is. So if you cannot be honest with yourself, and I'll be honest with you, you will not be honest with yourself carrying out these techniques on your own. That's why you need someone who's specialized in it, who knows the questions to ask you and how to actually do it. Otherwise, you'll be lying to yourself if you do it on your own. Me telling you to do it on your own is basically, I don't know, it's telling you just to research about them, but you can't practice them on your own. You need us. Okay? So that goes to my next point. Coach Brenda Liz, you give us your next point, please.
So it's funny how things evolve, because the more we talk about it as a group, it's like, okay, I wanted to talk about this. Now I think I should complement what Coach Jane kind of talked about. I think I wanted to talk about parts integration. That's when you have conflict between two parts. But I want to add a little bit more in terms of what just Coach Jane just spoke about. So Coach Jane actually guided you through, okay, you go to the future and then you come back to understand what are all the steps you need to do to get to that future point. Now, there's an additional technique that it's also mixed with timeline therapy or mental and emotional release, whichever methodology you're trained on, which actually takes you also into that future. But instead of coming back step by step, what you do is you go into that future state and you go 15 to 20 minutes or 30 minutes after you successfully completed that event. So let's say your overthinking is driven specifically by anxiety, like I'm anxious, I'm desperate, because I'm going in all this parallel path that I'm just anxious that I'm not going to be able to meet my goal or do what I need to do, right? Similar to what Coach Jane talked about. But now, instead of coming back and to understand the steps, you basically go into the future and you imagine yourself as if you were 15, 20, 30 minutes after the successful completion of the event, you then bring all those emotions into your body. You feel how you would feel after the successful completion of the event. You would see what you would see after the successful completion of the event. You'll focus on what you will hear after the successful completion of the event. And once you do that, an understanding, and your body realizes that that you can potentially do it, what it does, it ends up calming your mind in a way you didn't think possible. And then you can easily come back into the now, and you would see that what you were potentially overthinking doesn't necessarily, it requires you to overthink, because you now know that the possibility is there and that you can make it happen. Right? So it's complementing what Coach Jane spoke about, but more about how you calm your anxiety that could be driven by that overthinking.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that sometimes we have to complement each other's comments, because you find that what Coach Jay or what you talked about is something I wanted to share, but maybe in a different context. And I'm sure this is one of the techniques I would want you ladies to also most likely talk about also, the meta model, because it's quite wide, and very many people look at it in a very different way. But for me, the main thing that I would want to talk about regarding the meta model is the generalization. And maybe we can all go around sharing the others, like distortion and deletions. But when I want to talk about generalization, which is basically an evidence of thoughts we go along because of what generally, just like the word says, generalization is general. I'm always so unlucky. All men, women are the same. These things, it's basically generalization. All men are the same. All men cheat. All men are liars. All men are bossy. Until you get married and you realize that a man can actually go in the kitchen and cook for you a meal. Then you start taking away that mindset. But you see, that is where sometimes when we generalize things, it takes us into thinking of the future. Me, I'll never get married. Why should I get married when basically I'm just going to be like a housewife? I have to go to work. I have to also come home and cook food. This, not knowing, when you put things into the real context, you could actually get married to someone who is a helper. You help each other. So most cases, generalization, when we generalize things, it could lead us into overthinking. But when you look at generalization and understand what it is, then it could also help you get rid of overthinking in a good way. So I would want the ladies to, I would go to you, Coach Jeff, first, to share something that could help into people understanding that NLP techniques could actually help you get rid of overthinking using the meta model method.
Okay, so you've covered generalization. I would like to touch base on deletion. And this is where we decide to take part of the information and assume the other information. So, and this can land us into overthinking, because if you don't look at things as they are, if you don't look at it in the 360 degrees, what happens is the information that you take might not be true. The information that you take might not give you the basis of what you're supposed to do. So maybe you have an interview or something, you've decided to delete some information, part of the information, and that bit that you're deleting is what is causing you to overthink. That is where the answers are, but you've decided that, you know what, that's not for me. So when you assume that small bit of information, you land yourself into the overthinking pattern. Well, if you had paid attention to that part that you have deleted, maybe you will be confident going for that interview. Maybe you will have known what you're supposed to do or what you're supposed to say. And it's very amazing when I'm working with clients, and especially before an interview, you find that what is causing them to overthink, it's something that is there, it's in front of them, but they have chosen not to look in front of them. They have chosen to go beyond what is there. So they've deleted this information. They have gone there. What if they don't like me? And the question I always ask is, Have you even looked at the JD? What is the job description? Is it something that you can do? So why are you focusing on that information, deleting the basics here? Because they will judge you based on how you ace that interview. So deleting these small bits of information might affect us and lead us into that overthinking. Over to you, Brenda Liz.
Distortions. So I'm trying to think what's the best way to explain these distortions, and there's different ways where we actually may be distorting the reality, right? And one way could be by mind reading. For example, if I say, oh, Coach Jane doesn't like me, or people don't like me, I'm basically saying, I'm making the assumption, right, that people, that I understand, right, what people's internal state of mind is, and that I can realize that I'm making distortion, or I'm making assumptions based on what I think other people think, right? Or another way to look at distortions could be cause and effect, right? So, for example, oh, he makes me so angry, right? Or I'm doing this because he makes me so angry. I'm doing this because he's making me angry, right? So I'm making the distortion that I'm angry because, and I'm acting the way I'm acting because of the person, right? The idea here is to understand better how does doing cause, how is that causing you to choose the state of mind that you're choosing, because at the end of the day, you're the one choosing that state of mind, right? And how specifically that happens. And the idea is to recover your choices. So you're distorting based on what your assumptions are. However, you open yourself into looking at different possibilities. Another way, which I find very interesting in terms of distortions, is presuppositions. So that's basically, an example would be like, my friend knew how much I suffer. He wouldn't do that. Like, I'm making the presupposition that because they knew how much I suffered, they wouldn't do that to me. I'm probably distorting it because they might not, the reasoning for why they're doing things has nothing to do with you. It's their own internal reasoning, right? So if you're overthinking why people do things or why things happen to you, you could easily just move past that and start to think about, how did I choose to suffer? Or how is his reaction actually making me suffer? Or how do you know he doesn't know? Or how do I know that he does know and understands that he's making or causing me to react this certain way? So I'm distorting my reality, assuming people know certain things or they don't. These are just examples.
Yeah, and I really like your examples. And I think I would want to add on both your examples. For me, distortion, I like using the one for, you didn't greet me today. Do you have any problem? Like, why didn't you greet me today, Coach J? I didn't receive a good morning message. Did I do anything wrong? You know, like, how about you be the one to say the good morning? Does it have to be me all the time? Then for the deletions, I love using the example of, for example, someone says, you look so beautiful. But because you have this mindset of you don't take in compliments, you're going to be like, I think she finds me attractive, but she's, I don't know. You always want to delete what someone has said and you put there your own thing. It's always about this method. So you should actually read it more if you really want to practice this technique. Before going to an NLP practitioner, you should try your best to try and read this fast, because when someone tells you about it, You may go into, really, I've been generalizing all my life. Oh, I've been deleting people's conversations because it happens to me, actually. I even tell you, no, like Coach J, I know you know these methods. So I'll be like, I'm sorry, you said this and this and this, and I deleted this. And there sometimes I also have conversations with people, and I really feel like they've deleted some of the important information and concentrated on what they want. And that is life. We do it every single day. But anyway, that goes to my next point, which is the swish method, right? So for me, the swish method, I like it because it triggers those negative thoughts that you have to positive thoughts, because it emphasizing on limiting effect of those things. And for me, I'll give examples because I believe people understand more with examples. So an example of, oh my God, I'm scared I'm going to fail the exams. You've already put it in your mind that you're going to fail the exams. But why do you have this thought? Because first of all, it is going to put you into the future of thinking, if I go for the test tomorrow, I'm going to definitely fail it. And yet you prepared 100%. You've been preparing every day, you're reading, you've done all the research and everything. But because you have this mindset of, I'm going to fail, you should look at that limiting belief. What is putting you putting you into that anxiety thought? And most cases, when you do the research or when you start looking at the situation or when you go to an NLP practitioner, they're going to tell you that it's nervousness. Most cases, you're nervous. That's why you're thinking that way, that maybe I'm going to fail. So there's always a reason why you think the way you think. And that is the beauty about the swish method. It can help set your mind to happier thoughts, but you cannot go to the happier thoughts when you keep having that the negativity coming through. And yet that negativity is because of some small reasons. So always try to put your mind and body to a feeling. I'll give an example of finger biting. Because that is something I also do. So nail biting is something that happens to us a lot. But why do we do it? Most cases. I don't know. I'm trying to ask the ladies, why do we do nail biting? Or if you have people around you that do nail biting, why do they bite their nails?
Anxiety, maybe? Or overthinking of what may happen in the future?
I actually used to bite my nails back then, but when I think about it, it's more of overthinking. When I was overthinking something, I used to find myself just biting my nails, and I will go all the way. Oof! Then I land in trouble.
So for me, I started realizing that I was biting my nails a lot when I overthink. And trust me, even now, if I get into the overthinking mood, I won't be. And the next thing, I have no nails. So what do I do most cases to avoid it? And this is my own way. I put caloric nails, because these are not things you can bite. But if you use the NLP techniques on how you can overcome things like nail biting, those are things you have to go through the method. So I cannot say this is how you're going to avoid it. It is going to be a process, but you can overcome it. Nervousness, you can overcome nervousness, and you go into the exam and actually do 100%. But when you go with that feeling and you've not triggered to get rid of it, then it becomes very hard for you to actually pass your exam, because you've already set your mindset to failing and you've already read 100%, but that won't matter that you've read 100%. You'll be doing the exam and you'll not even read the question well, because you already have the mindset, I'm going to fail. And that's why these topics are very important for us to cover, because they're mostly all about the mindset. And back to you, Coach Jay, to share your next point.
Thank you. It's amazing what you've mentioned, and that ties it complements actually what I wanted to talk about, reframing. And just as the name suggests, reframing is like when you take a picture and put it in a new frame. As simple as that. And being an NLP technique, reframing reminds us to change those thoughts that we have. Why am I being so negative? Why do I keep telling myself I will fail? So with reframing, we need to ask ourselves very good questions, very important questions. And I would like to say that I'm running a challenge in the month of March where I'm doing 30 questions to ask ourselves to counter negative thoughts. And these are questions we can ask ourselves, to reframe how we are thinking about things. Like today's question was, am I limiting myself? Is it because you're not going for that promotion because you feel like you don't deserve it? Who has set that standard for you? Is it you or somebody else? Why can't you go for that promotion? So when you start asking yourself these questions, or what else can I learn from this situation? So instead of feeling sorry for yourself, instead of overthinking the situation, oh my God, I did not introduce myself well in that maybe meeting or gathering. So instead of feeling sorry for yourself, how about you ask yourself these questions that are going to reframe the whole situation? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I become better? And when you're asking yourself these questions, you will realize that you're not negative anymore. You're not thinking about what went wrong. Instead, you are forward thinking. You're thinking of how you can become better. And as Coach Joy started by saying, I always say, I am a student of life. Just doing this live webinar, I've learned a number of things. I'm taking notes because I'm always learning. I'm always advancing my knowledge. I have not set the limit that, whatever I know is what I know. I cannot add to that, No, you have to learn. Ask yourself, am I basing this based on facts or feelings? That's another very important question we need to ask ourselves. Is it facts or feelings? And you'll find that mostly it's feelings that they go up, that they make us get this overthinking. The bar is going up for feelings, and the facts are just sitting down here. We ignore the facts. Again, we're deleting. We don't want to see the facts. We want to go beyond that. We want to, to make ourselves feel good. So when we ask ourselves these questions, it helps us to reframe the whole situation. My husband doesn't love me. What can I do to get the affection from my husband? That way, you start realizing, you know what? I've been sleeping in the wrong outfit. I've been doing this. So how can I become better and, improve my relationship? Remember that it is a two-way traffic. It is me and my husband. So when I'm expecting my husband to do things, what can I do as a person? And remember, when you start improving yourself, your partner is going to start changing, is going to start noticing these things, and you'll start noticing even the environment is changing at home. So it is all about asking ourselves these important questions, reframe the whole situation, and take responsibility. Don't put it on Coach Joy. I know we insist on having accountability partners, but despite having an accountability partner and I don't take the responsibility, it will never work because Coach Joy cannot do it for me. I have to do it. I have to take that responsibility. So reframe every situation. And if you're watching this or watching the replay, follow me on YouTube, Coach Njogu. I'm doing the 30-day challenge, and these questions, they're very important. Another question before I let go is, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence that this job is only for Coach Joy? I cannot get that job. Where is the evidence that I cannot be loved? Who said that? And when we ask ourselves these questions, it becomes very important and we challenge ourselves. And I feel like as I started this challenge in March, I have also changed some of my thinking patterns. I hadn't noticed that they existed, but when I'm doing that, I'm learning and I'm challenging myself. I'm a student of life and I don't have any shame in that. Back to you.
So when you shared about reframe, it got me thinking that for me, I came to a point where it became very hard for me to coach my friends, because every time they came with situations, I always ask them the tough questions from the very beginning. I'm like, before you take my session, you've told me everything. I would want to ask you one question. What have you done about it? What have you done? Like you're like, for example, the example you've given about husband. Oh, my husband does. I feel like my husband doesn't love me anymore. Have you talked about it with your husband? Like, why are you assuming? Because we love to assume. We like to go into our mind of thinking, oh, he's not even kissing me anymore, so that means he doesn't love me. He doesn't touch me anymore. He used to like hugging me. He doesn't hug me anymore. What about you go hug him? Hug him. If he says, baby, don't hug me, I don't want you to hug me, then you have evidence. But where is the evidence? Like you said, where is the evidence? So most cases we get into our own mindset and reframe things on our own because that is what we want to do. And I really love the reframe method also. I think I just love all the techniques of NLP because for me, when I'm coaching, I use more of the NLP techniques because they work for me. And I feel if I use them on others, they help them. And I think that will take me to Coach Brenda Lees to share her next point.
So if I may add something on reframing, the way I actually use it in my coaching with my clients is I actually ask them back. So you're saying this, what's a different way for you to see this in your life? And if you could see this from a different lens, or if you were on the outside and then we go in and do the perceptual, right? If you were in these 3 different steps, what would it be? Now that you know this, how would you say it in a way that vibrationally it's a more positive vibration internally? Because if you have a positive vibration internally, then if we part from the premise that our thoughts become our reality, then the way you're saying things then have a direct influence into the way you shape your future. So I am right there with you, Coach Joy. I love all of the NLP techniques. I feel like they were like aha for me when I learned them. Like, wow, it's always been there and it's this simple. Why didn't I know this before? Now, that takes me to a simple technique called parts integration. So when you have overthinking, when you're really overthinking things, a lot of the times and this overthinking is driven by a conflict between 2 parts, right? Then using the technique parts integration is very powerful because you part from the premise that each part, right, has its own intention. And each part, it's basically operates on its own way of being. So an example of seeing parts is, okay, so part of me wants to take this job, but part of me wants to take this other job. And knowing that now I'm going to go in overthinking mode because I want this job, but I also want this job. And now I cannot make a decision between which job I'm going to take. Then by doing parts integration, what it does is you basically take the highest intention of both of the parts and you integrate it to help you make better decisions. So what it does is you blow up the boundaries between both of the individual parts, and now it becomes back part of its whole of you. And when you see it from the total highest intention, now you can see that both parts have the highest intention is the same. Then you can actually see how they can integrate, and then you can make decisions in an easier way. So that's another one of my favorite. And actually, I say this to every single technique. No, this is my favorite. This is my favorite. But I think parts integration is the technique in NLP that when I did it, I felt like such a sense of relief because I've been like bugging myself in the overthinking mode. And then by integrating the parts and understanding both parts' highest intention, I was like, it's as simple as this. So it's a great technique. If anybody wants to try it and they want to test it out, feel free to reach out to me. It's an amazing technique.
Yeah, I love that technique. I'm telling you, for me, it made me understand the point of time when I was cut in between. Should I go full-time coaching right now, or should I continue with my job? Should I quit? You know, it put me in that situation of integrating, just like the word itself gave the 2 situations. Because I went to my coach. I went to a coach and I talked to her. I'm like, you know what? I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm here. I have a job which is bringing in money right now financially, and I have coaching. And if I go full-time coaching, I'm not yet financially ready. Okay. So you have to pay this amount of money. I'm like, okay, for me to help you. I was like, okay. I started analyzing for a long time. I told her I'll get back to you. And I think after 2 weeks of me thinking about it, I was like, but I did this in NLP, I remember. We're able to do integration. We have 2 situations. We don't know which situation we can, that works for us. We integrate, put them together. How is this one of benefit to this one? How are you working out this one with this one to make things work for you? Because there are lots of questions you also have to ask yourself when you're looking at both situations.
Absolutely.
So when I analyze doing my part-time coaching, which I'm doing right now, and I'm balancing with my full-time job, I'm able, and I know that I'm giving myself a time frame, because you also have to give yourself time on when you want to go full-time, exactly on what is really working for you, what you're more passionate about. And for me, I can't lie to you, after using that method, it has worked for me. And that's why I'm a strong believer that you can only first learn the techniques or work with someone who knows the technique, who is an NLP practitioner, for you to benefit from it. And this is why we are here for you. And that will go to our last point with Coach Jay.
All right. Thank you so much. That was really, I remember, Brenda Liz, when we had one session together, you also brought me to speed with the pants integration, and it's really, really a powerful tool. My point is going to be, are you labeling your thoughts? When you are overthinking, are you labeling those thoughts that you're having? And what do I mean by labeling the thoughts? For example, you failed an exam, you brand yourself a failure. So whenever you see anything happening, you call yourself a failure. Maybe I'm late for a meeting one time. What do you brand me? Irresponsible. And it's the same thing that happens when we land into overthinking. Something happened one time, but you keep thinking about it, you keep labeling it over and over and over. Oh my God, I am a failure. Oh my God, I'm stupid. Oh my God, I'm this. And we forget that these words that we are using on ourselves, they're negative and they're affecting us one way or another. So before you jump into or if you find yourself in the loop of overthinking, are you labeling that situation based on something else? Just because I started a business last month and it did not do so well, and I want to start another business now, but I'm thinking about the last time I started a business, so I'm overthinking that, and I'm labeling that to dictate how this is going to go. So because this did not go so well, I have already identified and labeled that whenever Jane starts a business, it fails. So I'm labeling all these situations. So if we stop labeling situations, if we stop labeling things that happen to us all the time, then it becomes easier for us to move forward. It becomes easier for us, to take each day as it comes, learn from that experience and stop branding it, forget about it, learn and move forward. So my message will be, let us stop labeling situations and thoughts, because this will help us to not to fall in the pit of overthinking. Back to you.
Yeah, and I know what labeling can become. You label yourself stupid, you're actually stupid. I'm telling you the truth. You label yourself a person of love, you label yourself kind. Just like social media, and I'm glad we talked about this topic today when we're covering our Women's Day, regarding how to protect and everything we talked about. One of the things that we talked about that triggered me was what we share on social media. And trust me, what you put out there is what people will take of you. When you keep posting positivity, people will take you as that kind of person. If you're a negative person, definitely you're going to have those negative people who are always excited for your negativity because they are just like you. So you only post who you are. For me, that is what I say, even on statuses, WhatsApp status, Facebook status, all these statuses. People post what they are going through, or even if it's unconscious. And I'm glad I'm talking to someone here who loves dealing with the unconscious mind, Coach Brenda Lees. Some people do things unconsciously. They are conscious about them, but they are unconscious. If you know, you know. I will not go into details about it. But yeah, I'm glad you shared that point, Coach Jay. And before we close, I would want to say something. If we are to learn how to overthink, how to stop overthinking, learning to identify that we are actually doing it is very, very essential. Because most cases, we don't want to accept that we are overthinking. We actually put overthinking to the present. So when you actually accept that, you know what, I'm overthinking, and maybe overthinking is going to cause me those other things like depression, stress, and all that. You accept it. It's the only way you're going to work on it. But if you don't accept it, then you're going to live in it. Otherwise, I would want our guest for today, Coach Benalise, to share something to the people watching right now and those who will be watching the replay before we close.
So, what I would encourage everybody is self-reflection and self-awareness. The more self-reflection you do, then you become more self-aware of what are your triggers and what are the things that are making you think and act the way you do. And by doing both of those, then you can actually do the inner work that you need to do in order to overcome it. And it takes courage, it takes guts to be vulnerable and say, I need help with A, B, and C. But until you do that and you ask for the help and you do and take the action that you need to take, right? You're not going to be able to change your future. So it starts today, it starts now, and you have the power within yourself to actually overcome any challenge you have in life. And if overthinking is one of those challenges, there's plenty of different techniques out there, some which we have covered, others which we haven't covered. But the idea is there are methodologies proven out there that can help you. And if you need additional help, you can come to either Coach Joy, Coach Jane, or myself, and we are more than excited and happy to support you in your growth journey.
All right, and definitely I'm going to be sharing Coach Brendalise's details down in the comment section on the YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and also Coach J is going to share her details. So if you want to reach out to try out and use these NLP techniques to help you stop overthinking, even stress, some of you you have a lot of stress, they will help you. Coach J and Coach Brendalise will help you. They will use the techniques. And personally, I use the techniques in my coaching because I believe they work. If they can work on me, I know they can work on you. Coach J, before we close, could you give your last words, please?
Not my last words, but or should I ask you my last words according to who? Anyway.
That's a good one.
We should drink what we preach, yeah? So okay, so what I'd like to say is there's something that I came to realize, that we are too afraid of asking for help. And I'm not saying this because we are coaches. I'm saying this because we find ourselves struggling with overthinking, procrastination, finding validation, stress management, and all those things. And somebody told me something that really got me thinking yesterday. And she was like, no, I don't need a coach. I have lived with this all my life. It's part of life. So we have accepted these things. We have accepted the overthinking pattern. We have accepted the stress. We have accepted all these things that we don't want to ask for help. We don't want to invest maybe a little dime for us to get that clarity. And I want to tell anyone who's watching us now and those who will be watching the replay, there is joy when you understand your mindset. There is joy when your mindset is in the right place. And I'm not saying it as a coach. I'm saying it as an individual, as Jane. That joy, it's I don't even know how to describe it. There is no word to describe it, but there is joy when you're able to manage overthinking, you're able to manage procrastination, you're able to manage all these things. It just needs you to take action. It doesn't have to be a coach. You can look for a mentor. You can look for someone who understands these things better and get them to help you to overcome this. Overthinking it's not okay. It's not okay for us to overthink. We need that space for something else. So we have to accept that we need to better manage it. And as Brendalise said, identifying and accepting that it exists is very important, because if we live in denial, we can never get the help that we want. So other than that, Coach Brenda Liz, once more, we are super grateful for having you with us today as the Mindset Shift CEOs group. If you're watching us, you can join the group in Facebook. Soon we'll be expanding in other platforms, one day at a time. Back to you, Coach Joy.
Yes, thank you so much, Brenda Liz, for being here with us, for serving, because we are here to serve others. Thank you so much for being here for us to serve others. And for anyone who has not yet joined the Mindset Shift CEO group, remember, we believe you are CEO of your life. We are CEOs of our lives. And I know I've asked this question a lot of people, and they're like, CEO? No, I don't have any company. My friend, you are the company. I'm telling you. So you are the first company before you make all the other companies that you think will run. They cannot run if your company, you yourself, you're not running well. So invest in your mindset. Invest in your mindset. Invest in yourself. Those things of, I don't need a coach, I'm stuck, I'm used to this situation, they do not work in this day and era. Work on your mindset and you live a more meaningful life. Other than that, I would like to say thank you so much again, Brenda Liz. Thank you so much, Coach Jay, for being here. I really appreciate you, ladies. Happy International Women's Day. And if you're watching, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow Brenda Liz for more beautiful info and broadening your mindset. All right, stay safe and stay blessed.
Thank you.